I installed the fuel injection pump. The pump was checked by the fuel specialists. They checked it and said everything was fine. So, I set it to 2 degrees before top dead center. Since we're assembling one engine out of two, this one turned out to be an LF40 engine on the inside. For the LF40, we set it to 2 degrees before top dead center. I set the flywheel to 2 degrees before top dead center. Here, I aligned the mark, installed the pump, and tightened it. So I already put the engine in a vertical position because it's more convenient to install the cylinder heads this way. When the engine is lying on its side, you have to install the push rods right away, put on the cylinder head, and also install the upper space. That's where the rocker arm shafts are, where the rockers are located. And it's just inconvenient to tighten all this with bolts when the engine is on its side. Everything falls out, everything drops out, the push rods fall out, and so on. So I set the engine in a vertical position. Now I'm installing the guide bushings. Then I install the gaskets, put on the heads, then these rocker arm shafts, and finally tighten everything with bolts. So regarding the heads, I showed what kind of gasket repair we did earlier, and we'll install the second part of the head using this kind of sealant. Here I have the bushings ready. The guide bolts are also old. I cleaned them. it's new. I tightened the heads to 150 Newton meters. Now we need to make 2 turns of 90 degrees each, so I'll make marks along the length. Now, after one 90-degree turn, the marks will be across, and then a second turn of 90 degrees marks along the length again. So it says that after 1,000 kilometers, you need to turn the bolts another 90 degrees. So after 1,000 kilometers, the marks will be across, and you'll need to line the marks up lengthwise on all the bolts. And also after that, after another 20 to 30,000 kilometers, you need to tighten them another 90 degrees again. But here the positions from 1 to 4 are specified, meaning exactly these 4 tiriboltat. So I installed the injectors, installed the fuel lines, the conical fittings, installed the fittings and the fuel pipes. So here I can close up the air manifold, but now I'll also install the return line for the diesel and the coolant pipe, the coolant one. Next, I adjust the valves. Bring the first cylinder to top dead center, compression stroke. Turn the engine clockwise until the intake valve operates. Once the intake valve operates, we find top dead center on the first cylinder and adjust the valves first, second, third, fourth, skip the fifth, adjust the sixth and seventh, skip the eighth and ninth, adjust the 10th. So I set the clearances, intake and exhaust at 0.5 mm, and I also set the adjustment screw for the engine brake to 0 mm. According to the manuals, there are different specs. For engines up to a certain serial number, you need to set it to 0.4 mm, and for engines from that serial number onward, you need to set it to 0.5 mm. So I checked the serial number, and it turns out my engine doesn't fit into either category, so I set it to an average value of 0.45. I've already adjusted half of the valves, 6 of them. Now I'm turning the engine clockwise one full turn, 360 degrees, and adjusting the remaining valves. These are the 4th, 5th, 8th, 9th and 11th, 12th valves. I'm adjusting the remaining valves, closing the valve covers, and then we'll be installing the manifolds and the heat exchanger. Well, in general, there's still quite a bit of work left with all the accessories here. Достаточно. So I turned a full 360-degree rotation. And now, using cylinder 100 as an example, I'll show you how to adjust the valves. So, for the intake valve, we insert the feeler gauge. Tighten the rocker arm all the way. Here's the adjustment screw. We see it, the gauge is clamped. Then we loosen it just a bit. The gauge starts to move. And that's it, we lock it in place. Yeah. Now for the exhaust valve, we loosen the lock nut on the adjustment screw of the engine brake and tighten it all the way, until the hydraulic lifter is fully compressed. You can really feel it. The screw turns easily at first, then suddenly you hit resistance. And as I keep turning, I can see the valve itself starting to move. So that's it. That's the stop position right there. I'm adjusting the valve itself, turning the adjustment screw until it clamps down on the feeler gauge. Then I loosen it a bit until the gauge moves with slight resistance. That's about the right position, and then I lock the screw in place. That's it. The valve itself is adjusted. Now I need to adjust the engine brake screw. I leave this feeler gauge on the valve adjustment screw, and here I set the gap and tighten it as well. We turn it until the feeler gauge gets stuck, then loosen it a bit. When the gauge moves with slight resistance, that's it, we lock the nut, that's it. This cylinder is adjusted. Now, I just have to adjust 4 more valves on those cylinders, and basically that's it. The valve adjustment is done. I worked here for a while without the camera. For example, I installed the hoses, put the alternator in place, and did some other small things. So the engine is almost ready. I just need to install the compressor. As you can see, there's no compressor. And I also need to install the belts and the hydraulic coupling. Right now I'm working on repairing the compressor. Basically, I'm assembling one compressor out of two, the one that was on this engine. Here it is, it's in bad condition. Basically the crankshaft needs to be replaced. You can see the condition of the bearing shells here. The cylinders are also worn out. So overall, the compressor is in bad condition. And I took the compressor from the second engine. Here the crankshaft is in better condition, the bearing is in better condition, and the gear is in excellent condition. So I'm replacing the bearing shells. I've installed new bearing shells. I'm replacing the piston rings. I've installed them. New rings on both pistons. I'm installing the pistons. The cylinders also seem to be in more or less good condition. We can see there's still some crosshatch and the wear is minimal. So I'm installing the pistons and installing the cylinders. I also need to clean the valve plate and replace the valves. I've also bought two sets of gaskets. I'm installing the cylinders, putting the heads on, and installing the compressor. Well, I don't know if I'll have time to paint it today or not. If I manage to paint it today, the engine will already be installed in the vehicle tomorrow afternoon. Well, anyway, I don't know. Let's not make any prediction. We'll see how it goes. Alright, that's it. The engine is ready. Now, I'll put it on the oil pan. And today in the afternoon, the engine will be installed in the vehicle. So, I don't know what to say about the repairs. We ended up doing a sort of partial overhaul of the engine. That is, all the machining work was done on the engine block. The connecting rods were machined. The crankshaft is in perfect condition. And the cylinder heads were also machined. Well, we didn't replace the valves, even though I wanted to replace the exhaust valve. The valves, basically, I just ground them. They'll last a bit longer. The biggest drawback of this engine turned out to be the cylinder liners. So, we kept the old cylinder liners, and they already have some minor wear. But I think this engine will still run and work for a while. Well, maybe over time it will start consuming oil. It might start smoking and so on. I leave links to all the videos about this car under this video. That is about the engine disassembly, engine assembly. How many parts there ended up being? 2 or 3. Also the gearbox repair, gearbox disassembly, and gearbox assembly. And also, maybe by New Year's there will be a big video, as usual, where all the episodes will be combined into one video. Alright, so I'll wrap up this video here. Thank you all for watching. Good luck to everyone, and goodbye.